Well, pleasant good day to all of you, our executive dealer partners. Really appreciate you taking just a few minutes to listen into this training regarding some really cool construction specification changes, some changes to our spec book. There are some products that we are discontinuing, and all of that will be in this presentation. So really appreciate you taking the time to join me. Whatever day this is, you're watching this. So this presentation and training is about changes that are one further step to better leverage the manufacturing platforms we have both at Tedwood Executive and Designer's Choice across ECG. As many of you know, we have a very large facility in South Carolina, and it has always been our goal to make sure that we can leverage that. And number one, and most importantly, better serve you as we all grow in this business. One of the ways that we do that is by aligning things about our construction, specifically with Designer's Choices frameless and Executives frameless, so that when we move those changes and those production capacities here to service other parts of the country outside the Southeast, it's more efficient. Less training has to happen for both you and for our teams here in the factory. So we started this last year when we started lining up parts of the spec book, moldings, range hoods, and we continue that with this launch. So that is the impetus behind this. And again, this is growth and future capacity, which number one and most importantly is just so that we better serve you. So we've done work on our color palettes. Please make sure you understand that this does not change the flexibility with Executive. This doesn't change the larger color palette at Executive. This doesn't change who Executive is. It just allows us to build the cabinetry in a similar way that we do with Designer's Choice. And I think over the next few years, that'll make absolute sense. Our goal is to make sure that all of our product lines make sense as they work together. And we want you to be able to learn one and learn them all. And this is part of that process. So enough of that. Let's dive into the presentation. You should be able to see my screen here. The highlights for this are as follows, right? A little bit of the dates on the alignment that's taken place. You can take a look at that when you get a chance on your own. But most importantly, everybody wants a roadmap, right? So this presentation is a quick bounce through these changes. So EC's specs on construction will change on our wall depth, our vanity cabinet height, our desk cabinet height. Our reveals are going to change, okay? Our top and bottom reveals are going to change. The reveals between doors and drawer fronts will not. That'll be what you're used to. And then our tall bottom reveal will also change. Toe kick depth will be going to 2.5. We'll talk about that, and I'll show that to you in a second. We've clarified and standardized how many shelves come in each wall cabinet. All right, so that change will also happen, and that clarification will also happen at DC, but it is starting here with Executive. And then there are some construction, some non-visible construction changes to the cabinetry that we'll talk about. Again, those are not aesthetic and those are not structural per se, but they are to align how we build the cabinets. And so we can be consistent both in Florida and in South Carolina. Look, we've got a new element design program. We'll talk about that. We've streamlined it. There were certain things you bought and a lot of stuff that you didn't. It overcomplicated the process and the product line. So we've made those changes. I think you'll appreciate that. And then there's a bunch of other spec book improvements. I'm going to tell you, Brandy Slagle and her simplification team have done a tremendous job of making the book much more ergonomic. We've streamlined some of the sections. We've put some of the information on the portal so you can go get it digitally and not have it to be honestly on paper, right? So we'll talk about that. The book looks really great. And again, the next step of that is actually to align our nomenclature. So if Designer's Choice has a certain cabinet and Executive has that cabinet, and then eventually Tedwood has that cabinet, if you're buying from ECG, it should be the same SKU. So that's the next project, along with refining our accessory section, that you will see in the coming months. Really excited about this. But this is look and feel and ergonomics of the book is been improved, okay? And then there are some things that we did. There's one main thing we did with Designer's Choice, and you may or may not be a Designer's Choice customer, but Executive has been using a spacer system for our rollout trays for as long as I've been around. And we're going to convert the Designer's Choice rollout tray system to that. And so there is a picture in here that may or may not matter to you at all at this point, but hopefully one day it will if you bring on other brands for ECG. So that's the high level look. Let's dive into the pages. I mentioned the wall cab is going to 12.5 inches deep. So that's good news, right? A little bit deeper, a little more room for those plates. This page you'll be able to see in the spec book. Notice you'll already start to see some changes and some, if you will, improvement, streamlining of the actual look. So this is a page directly from the new book. You'll see where the bullet point is that calls out those wall depths. Our new vanity cab height. All right, so on the right is the old, on the left is the new, going to 31.5. New desk cab height is 29.5 now. Super important, obviously, reveals are changing, okay? This should not have an impact on the look of the cabinetry. Should give you a little more room in your countertop, okay? So it's the top will be 1/4, the bottom will be 1/8, and then again, your sides will be 1/16. So just like it's always been, your butt doors will have a 1/8 inch reveal in the middle, okay? The new toe kick depth. So we were 3 3/8, right? 2.5. That's the way it's been at Designer's Choice. And so we're going to adopt that size, 2.5 inch deep. Pay attention to this if you have product that you're designing now for something already in the field. Remember, Executive Cabinetry can modify that toe kick. All right, so if you still need the 3 3/8, we can make that modification. Just make sure that through all of this conversation on this presentation, you do understand that the customization and customizability of Executive still exists, and we have a full section of mods that will help you do that. All right, new element design program, really cool presentation piece. Pricing is listed in here. Honestly, the market did not buy all of the extra bells and whistles that we had in this program. So we shrank it down, shrunk it, shrinked it, brought it down to a much more manageable number. We have plans also to modify how we price this in a revision coming down the road later so that 2020 and Pro Kitchen can handle that pricing a little bit better. That has not changed in this particular launch. So you'll still have to do some manual pricing in 2020 and Pro Kitchen, as you always have. That hasn't changed. We also have a tool that will be available to you in this launch that will allow you to go back into your current box and see what has been discontinued by Element Design. So it's a spreadsheet that basically says in, out, new, old, and you'll be able to make sure that the box that you have is current. Obviously, there are still things that Element Designs offers that we aren't showing in this box and that we aren't putting in our spec book that is available. And this tool will help you make sure you have that set up correctly in your showroom. But this will be our new presentation tool for Element Designs. I like the design, all the new logos, love the cool colors. So I think you'll find it easier to navigate. All right. All right. So that's basically the product side. Let's talk a little bit about spec book. All right. So we're moving from construction specs into some changes in the spec book. I mentioned it'll look differently. It'll look cleaner. It'll be easier to read, and there's less pages. All right. So that's sort of the 20,000 foot summary of the changes. So here's the information section changed quite a bit. Okay. So the contact page. The contact page had not been touched in a long time. You will not find a fax number on the contact page. Do we still take an order by fax? We will, but that is not our preferred method. Our preferred method is, of course, to use our Order Express design tool. That's what we'd love for you to use. You can import into that from Pro Kitchen and from 2020. We'd love you to do that, or use our digital order forms. And in that case, you would, if you wanted to send us a 2020 SKU list, we're still perfectly fine with that. But we'd love you to scan that SKU list into a file along with a cover sheet from one of our PDF fillable forms, which are available on the website, and then send that in. All of this stuff comes into orders at executivecabinetry.com. All right, or you can send it, it's orders@executivecabinetry.com. We've updated the contact information on this page, so please make sure you go look at that. Actually, I wanted to do this, so just a real quick technology break. Might as well put it on here so you can see it, right? You guys should still be able to see my page. There we go. Hey, I eventually got to it. So you'll see a lot of information that was there. Our customer care numbers are here, website information. And like I said earlier, there's nothing on here relative to a fax number, mailing address. And then down here, we put a little more information regarding our dealer portal and what's available on the dealer portal. So please make sure you have this handy, okay? Terms and procedures page. This page at the top really hasn't changed except for some clarifying on the language. Most importantly, look down here for, again, some more information and some more detail around how we go through our acknowledgement process, okay? It does vary by order type, so make sure you read through that, very important. I wanna point this section out at the top, all right? We've added this section relative to custom cabinetry, all right? Please note that some of our standard cabinets and standard mods still need a drawing. You may know that because you've been through that process with us, but please note that there are certain modifications we still need you to give us some specificity, if you will, angled backs, for instance, right? We got to know where you want to start that cut, where you want to end, and what type angle, for instance, or clip corners, that type of thing. So that is the case. Now, look at that second bullet point. It is necessary and we need to charge revision fees, okay? If you have more than 2 revisions on a drawing, you will incur a revision charge of $200 net, all right? This is something that is specifically relative to major changes, right? You need to make a change, something needs to go from 36 to 30. The intent of this is not to hit you with a revision charge for that. We do a lot of revisions on drawings. What we'd like for you to do is sort of get closer to that final design you want before you send it into us. It'll make it more efficient for us, but that's not what's most important. What's most important is it's more efficient for you and you get drawings back faster, all right? The more revisions we do, the longer it takes for us to get to the sign off. And we really, really are focusing on shortening that. And so we think this will help, but it also pays our engineering team for the work that they're doing. So 2 revisions are fine. Beyond 2 revisions, you will have a $200 per revision charge, okay? And it may take longer to get acknowledgements back for CAD drawings. That sort of, I think, goes without saying, but we wanted to make sure that that expectation was clearly established. All right. If you slide down here a little bit, we added this in-home delivery section that was previously not in the book, but that's now part of our program at all 3 of our brands at Essential Cabinetry Group. So that is outlined. All right. Hear me really closely here. And this is a little bit of a teaser, okay? Based on current order volume, lead time, all the things we are all dealing with in the marketplace, our rush program is still suspended, okay? So our rush program is still technically suspended, all right? We will be launching a new rush program. Our goal is to line up the rush programs across all 3 of our brands. There's work already done on that and work being done on that. What you can expect when we launch that is what's written in this page, okay? We wanted to go ahead and get it in the book because we were comfortable directionally with where we were going, okay? But again, the rush program right now is still suspended, all right? So when we come back and we have a typical rush program, there will not be a job completion program, all right? Our view of rush is a couple of cabinets for those oops situations, right? It's really not to do an entire master bath. Our previous program allowed you up to 5 cabinets. That's too much. So the rush program will be a certain dollar amount or percentage of a rush up charge. We're still settling that. And 3 cabinets will be your max, okay? So that's the most that you can order on a rush. What we will do is if you have more cabinets than that, they will need to be placed as a normal, but we will work with you as best we can to plug those into a hole in production, all right? So there'll be a normal cabinet program. There will be a rush program for up to 3 cabinets, and there will be a percentage upcharge. All right. And then there will be a samples program. And of course, if we've made a mistake and there's a warranty, you won't pay for shipping or the cost of the product. And it will, of course, be on a set rush lead time. So that's all still to come, but it needs to be in the book. So that's lots of caveats in that statement, but that's what this page outlines. What this page also outlines is we clarify for a rush what needs to have a drawing. Excuse me, not a drawing, a sign off. Where I was going with that is you will have to acknowledge and sign off on any rush that has a drawing on it, okay? If you want to avoid having to sign off a rush, just sign it when it comes in. So the way you want to think about this is we still need at Executive Cabinetry a signature, all right? For current job completions or current rushes or current warranties, we still need a signature. If you are comfortable with the order you're sending in, all right, sign it. We will not require you to sign again, all right? And you will receive an acknowledgement. We are going to require you to sign off just like a normal order if there is a drawing, okay? So we go through that in this section. Hopefully that clarifies. I've been training on this for years, and that was always sort of subjective on what would need a drawing or what would not need a drawing. If we need clarification, of course, we're going to call you back, but sign that expedited order when you send it in. And unless it has a drawing, we won't require another drawing or, excuse me, another sign off. And we will call you if we have something to clarify. All right, so I spent a little bit of time on that particular page because I think it's important. Of course, if you have any questions on this or any special situations, please reach out to your customer care rep or your sales rep. So next page, just making sure we tie off on this. I did want to make one statement on the warranty. You'll notice here in the middle, we still show thermofoil as part of our warranty, okay? Thermofoil and Vogue are no longer a part of our program. However, those are still warranted because we sold those products. So I've had that question from the field, why do you have thermofoil in your warranty? It's because we still have that product in the field and we obviously still stand behind that per our limited lifetime warranty. All right, so I think that ties off on the front of the book, which I wanted to walk through. Now let's go back to the presentation here and actually talk a little bit about some of the other items relative to the spec book. So the base angle in short leg is now 12.5, all right? That's a detail, but it's something I want to point out. Our drawer height on counter cabinets with 2 bottom drawers is now 6 1/8. All right, so that matters obviously when you're designing. So I want to make sure you notice that change. This is relative to what we talked about earlier with standardizing the number of shelves and wall cabinets. So here you'll see we clearly outline how many shelves you're going to have per that particular SKU. This one is a 39. And then here are the sizes. If you're a designer's choice customer, we will be making this change and adding this to the spec book, and we will be announcing that soon. It will look just like this. It just has not been implemented yet in that spec book, but it is coming. But this should help you. Want to make sure this is clear. We get questions on that. The farm sink base. So we've increased the depth of the false front to 11.5. That's obviously to address sort of what the market looks for that. And our horizontal position or partition, the position of the partition, you say that, the position of the partition is 10 inches from the top of the cabinet. Look, we modify this cabinet all the time because it depends on the actual hardware or sink that you have chosen. So we understand that this is closer to what the market bears in terms of depth of that false front. So in panel with return is now cabinet depth. All right, it's now cabinet depth, not proud to the door. All right, so if you want that, you're going to have to use an in panel with return or a J return. Okay, in panel with return with J return. Excuse me, that's one SKU. Use in panel with return with J return. Sorry, a lot of words in that. Okay, or you can modify that particular cabinet by 7/8 to capture the door. All right, Bellini thermofoils, Vogue, that's out of the book, but that was already announced. One-piece MDF doors, really no reason to have one-piece MDF doors in the line with foil gone. We already have 5-piece MDF doors, okay? And they were the same price. So there's no reason to have these in. The Sahara is a slab and so is the Mojave. So those are clearly still in the book. We have to have those. Those are your painted slab options, Sahara and Mojave. And then if it's not available, we've taken it out of decorative accents, all right? So you will see no corbels in the book anymore if they're not available. Previous versions of the book, most of those corbels, just and some of those decorative onlays and overlays just sort of set in there and weren't purged out when they were not available from suppliers, or if we made them here, if it was a certain type of molding. If it's now not available, it is not in the book, and what is in the book is what available. We did also take the accessories section out of Linear Cucina where it was duplicated. So you'll need a reference back to the accessories even for product that can be purchased in Linear Cucina. Obviously, we don't have a separate spec book for Linear Cucina, so that makes sense. But that just sort of streamlines and takes some pages out of the book that don't need to be there. All right, now the next few pages are going to be a bunch of SKUs. All right, so I'm not going to read through all of those, but again, these are cabinets you did not purchase. All right, these are very low volume SKUs. Okay, I will point out coplanar. It's a cabinet that's really cool, but nobody purchased. All right, so the following cabinet widths are no longer available, at least in the book. Of course, at Executive, you can modify to this, but 10.5, 13.5, 16.5, 19.5, 22.5. It's on your page, right? Wall cabinets, all those SKUs are not available. Base cabinets, those SKUs are not available. Again, fringe SKUs, if you will, that you did not purchase. At least I know I always say that, and somebody's out there going, I love that cabinet. You might have been the only person that loved that cabinet. Hope you get the idea. All right, vanity cabinet. So the vanity coplanar is not available. I did want to point that out. All right, so that is construction changes. That is spec book changes. That's the addition or the streamlining of the Element Designs program. All right, that's basically the guts of the launch. Now, what are the dates? All right, so today is the 15th. This particular training will be announced in the Constant Contact. This, and you can click on this. Of course, if you're listening to my voice, you've already clicked on this, and it's after the 15th. But we announced this to the market on the 15th. We are already working and packing up those spec books, and they should be shipping the week of the 11th so that they're delivering to you the week of the 18th. All right. New product available to order May 31st. All right. So if you place an order on May 31st, it's going to have the new spec. All right. So get your orders in before that if you want to have the old toe kick depth or the old wall cabinet depth or et cetera, right? The old reveals. So get your order in before May 31st to have the old spec. Now, as is always the case, right? When we make these changes or we have price increases, we do have to have a cutoff where we sort of are moving forward with the new product. So if you want the old spec, so you put your order in before May 31st, got it. If you want to keep that old spec, you will need to sign off by June the 20th. All right, at some point, the shop has to get beyond toggling between these two changes, okay? So June 20th is the deadline to sign off. We will be voiding those orders out and re-entering those orders, okay, in the new spec, if you still need that order, all right? So customer care, the team here will be reaching out, we'll be bird dogging those orders, but May 31st is when we'll start applying the new spec to orders that come in. And then if you have an old spec order in-house before May 31st, you've got to sign off by the 20th of June. All right, so announcing the 15th, spec books are on their way. It'll be a couple of spec books per dealer. You can order more if you need them. New product available 31st, and then your sign off has to be by June the 20th. All right, and real quickly, what about the tools, okay? 2020, you can start designing. 2020 is live now. Download that off the portal. The Pro Kitchen and Order Express are live programs, if you will. So that switch cannot be thrown until the actual launch date. So that'll happen later in May, May 31st. All right. So 2020, you can start designing, rock and roll. It's live. Pro Kitchen and Order Express, because of them being cloud-based, those are going to have to happen May 31st. All right. So those are a couple of important dates to remember around the tools. And then I do real quickly want to show this. So if you're a Designer's Choice customer, this is a change with the rollout system. So at Executive, we've been using the spacer system for a long time, right? We are going to convert to that spacer system at Designer's Choice. Okay, so if you're a Designer's Choice customer, beginning on orders confirmed and engineered in May, those orders will have the new spacer system. All right, so the pilaster is going away. Those extra rods that go in and attach with the little clips that hold the rollout trays, those are going away in both frame and frameless on orders that are confirmed and engineered, signed off on, if you will, in May. And that's just a quick picture of it. So you'll see on the left side, obviously, if you're watching this, you're an Executive customer, you know what this looks like. But just in case you're a DC customer as well, we do have a bunch of those. That's what it's going to look like when you get it. That'll be frame or frameless. All right. So you'll start seeing that on product shipping. Call it June, July. All right. So stuff June, July, will have this change. It'll be basically a running change in our shop. Okay. Well, that's the presentation. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. As is always the case, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to the customer care team or your outside sales rep. We really do appreciate your business. Change is not always easy, but please understand that the changes we are making are to simplify our product lines, to make it make sense how they line up, and to make doing business with us easier. It is all about your customer experience. That is our goal. That is our journey. And that's what we will continue to work to achieve. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.